Ladies and gentlemen, we've got more silliness coming out of the world governments. Today it's on Israel. Let's take a look at this. I'm Tall the Traveling Clad, your favorite white colonizer. Get your merchandise in the description down below. Let's check out this clip.
Now give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Assistant Secretary General Miroslav Yencha, for your briefing. And I welcome the Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs at this meeting. And I thank you, Eli David, for your courage in sharing your story. The pain and grief that you and other families of hostages have faced at the hands of Hamas is unfathomable. And the United States stands with you and will continue to work to free all of the remaining hostages, living and deceased. Colleagues, the horrific videos of hostages, Evyatar David and Rom Braslevsky, filmed by the terrorist groups Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, should shock and appall the world. The footage of these two young men, tormented, starved, emaciated, is not only a reminder of the evil that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad represent. It also makes more clear than ever that the Security Council and the international community must stop pressuring Israel and instead impose maximum pressure on Hamas to immediately release all 50 hostages that they continue to hold captive. The hostages abducted on October 7th have now suffered for 668 days. These videos show Evyatar David, a 24-year-old kidnapped by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival, with an appearance his own family described as a living skeleton buried alive, being forced by his terrorist captors to dig his own grave. Rom Braslevsky, a 21-year-old abducted from the Nova Festival, is pictured in similarly dire conditions. The United States has made clear that freeing the hostages is our priority, along with ensuring Hamas disarms and no longer rules Gaza. President Trump, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Secretary Rubio continue to work tirelessly to end the war, release the hostages, including Itai Chen and Omer Nutra, the two Americans still held by Hamas, and bring peace to Gaza and give it a future free of Hamas. As President Trump said last week, the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Yet Hamas has refused to do so. While Israel has accepted the terms of the ceasefire proposal, Hamas has consistently rejected them. That is emblematic of the bad faith we see from Hamas. Unfortunately, at a time when pressure on Hamas is more necessary than ever to free the hostages and end the war, some have instead taken steps that embolden Hamas and undermine the negotiators' efforts. We must be clear that unproductive publicity stunts like last week's two-state solution conference and unilateral announcements regarding recognition of a Palestinian state undercut the efforts of mediators and prolong the war. These gifts to Hamas not only imperil the hostages, they also hurt the civilians of Gaza, who continue to suffer what President Trump has recognized as real starvation. Colleagues, no one wants to see Palestinians, civilians in Gaza go hungry and thirsty. The United States supports getting assistance to civilians in Gaza and has been actively working to support the secure delivery of humanitarian aid to civilians in Gaza. As President Trump has said, the United States is going to be even more involved in these efforts. On Friday, Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee traveled to Gaza, where they met with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and other agencies and visited GHF aid distribution sites. The GHF recently announced reaching the milestone of delivering more than 100 million meals directly to civilians in Gaza. On Sunday alone, the GHF reported delivering more than 1.5 million meals at its distribution sites. we recognize the important actions Israel has taken to facilitate the increased flow of aid into Gaza. Those who have professed concern about the reported risk of famine should join the United States in supporting the GHF's work in securely delivering food to civilians in Gaza. It is essential that our humanitarian response help those civilians without benefiting Hamas. Mr. President, countries, including the members of this council, face a choice: whether to continue with actions that reward and encourage Hamas, or whether to hold the terrorist organization responsible for its actions. We should all be able to agree that the hostages must be freed without further delay, and that Hamas can no longer rule Gaza and must disarm. The hostages must be returned home, and Palestinians in Gaza must be allowed to begin a new chapter free of Hamas. President, we have once again heard members here make allegations of genocide. These allegations are politically motivated and categorically false. They are part of a deliberate, cynical propaganda campaign as Hamas attempts to win symbolic victories to compensate for total defeat in war. The United States refutes these allegations entirely. The United States fully supports Israel's right to defend itself against Hamas's terrorism. Israel has taken numerous measures to limit harm to civilians and to address humanitarian needs. The loss of civilian life in Gaza is tragic, but the responsibility for this rests with Hamas, which could stop the fighting today by agreeing to the ceasefire already accepted by Israel. And with respect to recent reports of deaths of Palestinians near GHF aid distribution sites, I would say that the GHF has stated that recent reports of deaths near their distribution sites are false. The most recent tragedy occurred near UN convoys after they passed through the Zakim crossing. The UN continues to turn down the GHF's offers to collaborate and coordinate efforts. We mourn the loss of all innocent lives and agree that more assistance needs to safely reach those in need. And we encourage all to support the GHF's efforts. President, in closing, the United States calls upon all countries to join together and say with one clear voice that Hamas must immediately surrender, release all the hostages, both those living and those who have already been murdered at the hands of Hamas, and allow this war to end. I thank you.
Agradezco.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. And I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
I'm conflicted in my commentary on this because I don't want and I don't mean to offend the good graces of the United States of America and its UN representative. But does anybody feel like that was 100% useless? Or is it just me? Does anybody else feel like that's just coming in through one ear and going out the next? Or is it just me? What's going to change? The UN at this point, especially after everything we've seen in the last week, these allegations that GHF is killing people, these allegations that Israel is starving people, and then you get to the border of Israel with Gaza, and what do you see? Tons upon tons of food sitting out, rotting in the sun because what? The UN refuses to bring it in, or the UN refuses to allow other people to bring it in. There is a manufactured starvation in Gaza at the hands of the UN and Hamas working in collaboration for one other reason other than to ruin the image of the Israeli state. For what? Give me one other good reason. And if you can make the claim that the UN isn't doing it because of a danger to them, it's because Hamas is posing a danger to them, correct? Not because of Israel, because Israel coordinates with the United Nations. So that you're telling me right now that it's become so dangerous for the UN to operate in Gaza because Hamas is so in control there still. And then you're also telling me that Israel is starving the Gazans and Hamas. There's no credible evidence that Hamas is stealing aid. This is the Free Palestine movement is the biggest scam that we've ever seen unfolding in our own eyes. And millions upon millions of dumbass, brain-dead sheep people are falling for it in front of our very eyes. And we are watching the world fall for this bullshit. We're literally watching it happen every day with our own eyes. It is the most ridiculous, backwards horse shit I've ever seen in my life. It is shocking. It is absolutely shocking. And again, God forbid would I ever undermine the efforts of the United States of America to help Israel, because I love that we are in collaboration together. And I love that the United States is vouching for Israel online and off and in the UN. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's an incredible thing. But does anybody else feel like this kind of conversation can't be had with the framework of the United Nations anymore? Like maybe we should be going in there and making a point to call out all the degenerative nations in there that are blindly supporting Palestine for no other reason other than to demonize Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Buy a White Colonizer shirt right now if you want to support the channel. And I'll see you guys next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, Clats.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.